Alrighty, folks, welcome back to another market update. This time we're doing April 2022, and I've got, again, the trend continues. Good news for buyers. The market seems to be slowing down quite a bit throughout the HRM. On the peninsula, it's still a bit hot, but in those higher price ranges on the peninsula, it's really starting to cool. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm on a new laptop, so this might take me a second here. All right, so number one, we're doing Bedford. Now, Bedford stats: total sales and days on market 61 and 6 respectively. So a lot of sales. This is normal because we've gotten a ton of new inventory in the market over the last month, and this should continue throughout the spring, as this is historically the hottest time in the market for new listings, right? So satisfy a lot of that demand through the supply. Days on market across the board remains very low, right around 5 or 6. So that'll be continuing throughout the slideshow. Showings per listing and new listing 12 and 80 respectively. So as you can see, one of the big, huge trends I saw here is, over the last couple of months, we've seen our average showings per listing. We're hovering right around like the 20 mark, 25 mark. And this month, especially, it has come down across the board. In a lot of areas, it's below 10, which is great for buyers. It means that there's a lot less people going to see the individual listings. And part of the reason for this is because of that 80 there, right? So there's just a lot more inventory for people to choose from to really figure out what they're looking for. Sale price to list price percentage, that's a pretty healthy number. It's starting to come down, right? Again, throughout this slideshow, you're going to see those over asking prices in a lot of the neighborhoods, not all of them, but a lot of the neighborhoods are starting to come back down away from that 130% over asking we were seeing in February and January. So 113.2%. Now the single family monthly comparison, 764, 888 last month, 732, 500 this month. So although this is a bit of an outlier, we are still seeing a very slight climb, I think, across the board for the prices of both homes and condos that are selling. But they're not climbing very, very at a crazy rate. Condo monthly comparison, 401,000 versus 572,000 this month. Clayton Park and Rockingham, leave that up there for a second. Total sales and days on market, 34 and 5 respectively. Showings per listing and new listing, 12.4 and 55 respectively. So again, same trends as before. Sale price to list price percentage still a little high, 119.7% over asking. 119.7% of the list price. So almost 20% over asking. Single family monthly comparison, 740,000 last month, 657,300 in the month of April. Condo monthly comparison, 380,750 versus 380,000. Cole Harbour. So again, I'm just going to kind of rip through these numbers. I gave you a bit of the background of what's going on. If you want, you can always go back and compare the stats to what it was like last month, right? I do one of these every month, so it's a little bit easy for you to go back and check. Total sales and days on market, 40 and 5 respectively. Again, these numbers are high, but those days on market remain quite low. Showings per listing, 14.2 and 53. Great numbers, right? It's starting to come down. Cole Harbour is obviously it's been quite hot, along with Eastern Passage, which we saw a big change this month. Sale price to list price percentage, still very high, 127.8. So what this tells me is that, let's say a house gets 5 offers, there's probably 1, maybe 2 that are just way above the rest. And eventually that number is just going to start ticking down, right? Just because there's so much less competition out there. That psychology of, okay, there's 10 offers, I need to really differentiate myself, versus, okay, there's 3 offers. Maybe I don't have to differentiate myself a bit, right? But that takes a little while for that psychology to set in. Single family monthly comparison, 478,000 versus 508,650. Dartmouth, leave that up there for a sec. So Dartmouth, you got Burnside over there and all that, which obviously doesn't have houses, but I just include it. Total sales and days on market, 76 and 5 respectively. Showings per listing and new listing, 13.5 and 109. Sale price to list price percentage, 126%, still very high. Single family monthly comparison, 545,000 versus 571,000. So we saw these gradual kind of ticks, right? It's still obviously going up, but it's not, leaps and bounds like we've seen over the last 2 years. Condo monthly comparison, 536, 250, and 370. Downtown. For those of you watching this for the first time, don't do any single families here. They've got Schmidtville, obviously, but there's just not enough data really to warrant it. Total sales and days on market, 7 and 6. So a bit of an uptick there, I believe. Showings per listing and new listing, 7.9 and 11. And then this number, which bumped up last month, but has since come down. Sale price to list price percentage, 101.9%. A lot of those are higher end, right? When we're looking at downtown condos, they're priced quite high. And there's just not as much demand for those high price condos yet. I think that will begin to change as people continue to be priced out of the market and want that quick commute if they're going to be commuting. We got a lot of people that are moving from these bigger cities that are used to, condo living being the norm, whereas out here, it's not yet. So 101.9%, which is great. If you're offering on a condo downtown, you don't have to put these way above asking prices. You can kind of use a bit more logic when submitting an offer. Condo monthly comparison, 603,000 versus 875,000, right? So pretty high price. Cow Bay and Eastern Passage. Total sales, days on market, 28 and 5. Showings per listing and new listing, 13.2 and 43. So that 13.2 is way down from a couple months ago, if you remember. I think we're up almost at 30 per listing, right? Which is crazy. Sale price to list price percentage, 131%. Same thing as Cole Harbour. People just, we're waiting for that psychology to start to set in. You still need to kind of gauge your competition, but obviously it's not like there's only one that's 30% over asking. There was 28 that sold, and that's where that number came from. So there's still that. If you want the house bad enough, you got to put over asking, right? Single family monthly comparison, $447,500 versus $458,000. Enfield and the airport and all that good stuff. Total sales days on market, 5 and 21 respectively. Showings per listing and new listings, 6.9 and 32. That's pretty low, right? Sale price list price percentage, 118.2%. Single family monthly comparison, 490 versus 479.9. Fairmount, hardly anything happened here this month. Total sales, days on market, 2 and 4. Showings per listing and new listing, 12.2 and 0. So 0 new listings. And yet, so as I've said in previous videos, if you're looking towards Halifax from the top of Fairmount, the left-hand side tends to be a bit older towards the golf course. Smaller homes, a little lower price. On the right-hand side, though, that hugs kind of the rails to trails thing. You're going to see some really nice houses, and that looks like what was sold here over the past month. Sale price to list price percentage, 121.4%. Single family monthly comparison, 540 versus 960. Fairview, not a lot happened here this past month. There was a ton of movement there about a year ago, even a couple months ago, but lately it's been slowing down. Total sales and days on market, 7 and 6. Showings per listing and new listing, 8 and 12. Sale price to list price percentage, 117%. Single family monthly comparison, 503 versus 573, 250. Starting to see a couple things in Fairview actually sitting in the multi space, which remains to be seen how that'll kind of play out over the next couple months. I think the rate changes, as well as some government intervention, is starting to play a bigger factor in Nova Scotia and Halifax in particular. But again, it takes a while for this data to kind of work itself out, right? The government says something, sometimes they follow through on it, sometimes they change it, sometimes they do it just to get a reaction. But it takes a little bit to gather the data on what's actually going on. Fall River, go back there just so you can see. Total sales, days on market, 10 and 5 respectively. Showings per listing and new listing, 9 and 12. Sale price to list price percentage, 119.2%. So still quite high. I remember a couple months ago, I think they only had 1 or 2 sales, but 145% was that number, which is crazy. Single family monthly comparison, 730 versus 635. Hammonds Plains, Lucasville, right? Another lake district. Total sales days on market, 18 and 5 respectively. Showings per listing and new listing, 11.3 and 35. Sale price to list price percentage, 117.8. Single family monthly comparison, 790 versus 694, 246. North End Halifax. We've got a couple listings coming on here this month in May. Total sales and days on market, 21 and 5. Showings per listing and new listings, 11.8, quite low, and 30, right? Sale price to list price percentage, 120.9, which is still quite high. Single family monthly comparison, 597, 750 and 651, 900. So on the peninsula, except for in the very high levels, right? Million plus, I think this trend will continue. It's just for people that if you're going to commute into Halifax at any point in your life, right? Maybe 5 years from now, you got a job downtown or something. Being on the peninsula allows you to skip 90% of that commute time. For those who have lived here for a long time, and for those who have moved here recently, you're probably realizing that there's some significant choke points to getting into downtown, right? You got the Bedford highway leading into the Windsor Street Exchange, the normal highway that comes in from Bears Lake and Timberlea and all that stuff, which leads up, Bears Road area, which is again a choke point. You got the rotary, St. Margaret's Bay, Spryfield, that can turn into a big problem. And then you got the two bridges, right? So basically there's choke points to get in on the peninsula, which can slow you down. But once you're on the peninsula, you sacrifice a lot of that commute time, and you will continue to reap those benefits as the city inevitably grows, right? I think those choke points outside of the peninsula will only get more congested as time goes on, unless they, I don't know, do like a hyperloop or something. But the value of being on the peninsula, I think, will continue to really, it's going to be hard if there's a correction whatsoever in the market that happens. I think if you own property on the peninsula, that's probably where you'll be safest, right? It's just the demand there will continue to climb. And with the immigration goals, I've said this before, it's just, you can't really get around that, right? So anyways, North End condo monthly comparison, 525 and 633, which is quite a boost. And quite frankly, the condos for sale in the North End, you've got quite a few that are actually quite low priced, but there's the new build, which I think is probably driving that number up quite a bit down in Cottage in there. Sackville and Beaverbank. Total sales and days on market, 80 and 5. Showings per listing and new listing, 17.8 and 102. Sale price to list price percentage, 124.7%. Single family monthly comparison, 506 versus 540. South End Halifax. So this is one of the areas that took a bit of a hit, right? And it's just because there's a lot of high priced items. And when something happens in the market, slow down rates, whatever, we usually see historically, this is the end of the market that gets hit first, right? Total sales and days on market, 10 and 8 respectively. Showings per listing and new listing, 7.9 and 17. Sale price to list price percentage, way down, 105.4%, right? Single family monthly comparison, 1.275 versus 1.1275. Condo monthly comparison, 536,016 versus 495,055. I think the number that happened there and something that I saw was in the new build down by the St. Mary's University there, Goresbrook Park, I think it's called. They had a condo that was sitting, now it was a shoebox, quite frankly, but over the last couple of months, those things were coming on, they were gone within like days, right? So starting to see, again, a bit of a trend there. Total sales and days on market, 37 and 5. Showings per listing and new listing, 11 and 52. Sale price to list price percentage, 119.8%. Single family monthly comparison, 621 for 620. Condo monthly comparison, 453, 450, and 460,000. Tantallon, Hubley. Love this area. Total sales and days on market, 13 and 5. Showings per listing and new listings, 12.8 and 15. Sale price to list price percentage, 126%. Single family monthly comparison, 725,000 versus 650,000. Timberlea, Beechville. Total sales and days on market, 16 and 6 respectively. Showings per listing and new listing, 17 and 19. Sale price to list price percentage, 106.1%. There's a healthy number, right? That's in a pretty normal price range considering everything else. Single family monthly comparison, 620,000 versus 610,000. Going back to that showings per listing, 17 is still quite high. So I'm quite surprised. I didn't have anybody doing any showings out there this month. I haven't actually been doing showings out there for a while, but 106% in that price, in that snack bracket. It's pretty healthy. West End Halifax. Again, you get that commute, right? Total sales and days on market, 20 and 5 respectively. Showings per listing and new listing, 18.1 and 29. Sale price to list price percentage, 116.7. Single family monthly comparison, 1 million even versus this past month, 875,000. I can't believe how much the West End has come along here. All right, finishing off with Windsor. I think I'm gonna maybe think about doing a Bridgewater and a Churro, because those places are starting to pop as well. Churro's divided highway one way. Bridgewater is really growing. It's not divided highway all the way down, but it's still, going to become a pretty big player, I think, in the next couple of years. Total sales, days on market, 33 and 6. Showings per listing and new listings, 10.6 and 28. Sale price to list price percentage, 117.8%. Single family monthly comparison, 339 versus 405. So, I love Windsor, quite frankly. I've never lived there, don't really have any connection there or anything, but it's cheaply priced, divided highway, 45 minutes. You're around the corner from Acadia University, wine country. You got a little ski hill there, Martok, and you're on the Bay of Fundy. I think that it's quite the spot. So yeah, I am going to stop recording here if I can figure that out. And other than that, have a great day, everybody. We'll see you again next month. I've got the video editing stuff has been, quite frankly, a mess. But I've got somebody who's going to be actually helping me out, hopefully full time here. I'm in the process of hiring somebody. And hopefully I'll be able to ramp up some of the content I pump out on YouTube at least. And yeah, get you guys some more valuable stuff. But other than that, once again, I'm Tom Moore, your local Halifax Realtor, and everybody have a great weekend. Bye.